now, right now. Right 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 now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since it's been out there. The government has been bigger.
Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about a drop on Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about the counter argument to the proposition that I put forward on this channel relatively recently, and that is that Bitcoin will likely bottom out around 24.5 to 25.7. And after that bottom, Bitcoin will likely go into a rally. However, there's been a contrarian view that Bitcoin very well may drop all the way down to $20,000. So, is Bitcoin going to do that? Why might Bitcoin do that? And do I agree that that is going to happen? We're going to unpack that contrarian view, that contrarian idea and theory in today's episode of Coffee and Crypto Live. We're also, of course, because it's FinSol Friday, going to talk about all of the different things that you guys want to talk about over on in chat. I love getting to interact with you guys, so let's go ahead and just get started. We've already got over 100 people watching. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got Philly Skills 1428 in chat, said, morning, Jebb. Good morning to you. Joe Bollier. Is it Bollier or Bollier? Or Bollier. I'd love, you got to let me know. Matt Chandler's in chat, said good morning. Alex Nybo said good morning. Wisely T said, small favor, Jebb. Could you check under YouTube settings, live chat, to see if that hold for review option is turned on? I would be more than happy to check into that here in just a little while. I don't think I'm going to be able to check it just really quickly. I could look. I don't think I'm going to be able to check that right here in the middle of the stream, but I will look into that. Because, of course, that is a setting, if you guys aren't aware, where you can set things up with, here we go, comments on your channel. Hold up, message. Nope, I do not have it set up for live chat. It is not on for live chat. So, Wisely T, I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't think that's your problem. It is turned off. I will check again after the stream, but I just checked. It's not turned on. One Africa IO said, check me, Jebb. What's up, my friend? Philly Skills 1428 said, feels good to make it to the weekend. I've gotten a shout out all week. There you go. Boom. It's a cool name. I like it. I think I have a math brain, so I read your name. It says 1428, and I'm like, boom, 14's half of 28. I don't know. It's just appealing to me. It's like if your name was like 5,192, right? Isn't that? I forgot what that number represents, but that's a number that's it's an exponent of something. I don't know. I'm just a numbers nerd. I was literally on the way to work today explaining to my wife how G-Force works, and I was like, look at this, and I would turn the car and I'd say, look at this, the coffee's doing this. It's because of G-Force. And my wife, I love her so much. She was sitting there pretending to be interested. I think she actually was interested, but she was humoring me, so I really appreciate that. That's what love looks like. Anyway, Jonathan Weiner said, start of a long weekend. God bless all. Yes, indeed. Long weekend coming up. Crypto Alchemist said, morning, y'all. Rowby said, good morning, fam. Ben Lucas said, give up the sauce. Okay. I'm my hero, Val Digilov said, good morning. Good morning to all of you guys. Let's go ahead and jump straight onto CoinMarketCap. As you guys can see, Bitcoin is currently trading at $26,000 and almost $700, almost exactly $1,000 above the level that we've been talking about extensively. That, of course, being $25,700. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Bitcoin's up 1.5% over the last 24 hours. It is down slightly over the last 7 days and is up 15% over the last 90 days. Bitcoin is performing very well on the 90 and the on the 90-day and the year-to-date price graphs because Bitcoin has been able to really retain quite a lot of its value that it has gained this year. Bitcoin started this year around 16,000. It's currently trading around 27,000. It's an $11,000 appreciation from where the year began when we were trading right there around 16, 17, 18, moving into the beginning of this year. Ethereum is currently sitting at $1,826. It's up 1.62%, up slightly over the last 7 days, and up 14% over the last 90. Tether, of course, is sideways. Binance is more or less sideways over the course of the last 24 hours and the last 7 days as well. XRP up to rank number 6 on CoinMarketCap. It's been sitting there for a while, but it's at rank 6 at the moment, above Cardano, sitting at $24 billion in value, up 3.2%. Cardano up 0.5%, sitting at $12.5 billion in value. Dogecoin still right around that $10 billion mark. It's just a few tens of millions of dollars shy of hitting the $10 million mark. Sorry, the $10 billion mark once again. Polygon up 5%. Polygon's been doing very, very well. Polygon could very well be one of those cryptocurrencies that starts the next altcoin season because it's just such a good project. Tron, Solana, Litecoin, all doing relatively well. Tron's down a little bit over the last 24 hours, but it's up quite a bit over the last 7 days. BUSD down to $5.3 billion. As you guys know, Binance USD had its minting halted after some issues that Paxos ran into with regulation, meaning that its circulating supplies dropped all the way down from 24 billion all the way down to where it sits right now at $5.3 billion in market capitalization. We've been gradually losing market capitalization. It's been gradually dropping out of the top 10. If you guys remember, about 2 months ago, we were looking at how it was going to drop out of the top 10. Right now, it's sitting at rank number 14. It's going to continue sliding off into obscurity more than likely over the course of the next several coming months. All right. One of the big things I want to talk about today also is the total market capitalization of Bitcoin itself and of crypto itself. When we're looking at the total market capitalization of the entire cryptocurrency market, there's something that you absolutely have to understand, and that is that we have a few levels that are very critical, and one of them is $1 trillion. You can see that is this level right here. It's right there, and you can see it crossing right through the chart. Bitcoin has been doing a cryptocurrency, I should say, has been doing a massive amount of trading right there around the $1 trillion range, and even though we've fallen below it a few times, even dropping down to $800 billion, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has been trying to establish to the rest of the world, no, this is an industry that's worth $1 trillion. We've even fallen down to this level before, going back to July 22nd of 2021. We dropped down to this region of around $1.25 trillion before rallying all the way up to $3 trillion, setting a new all-time high just shy of that $3 trillion mark. Bitcoin dropped, crypto dropped 75%, but still basically retained that $1 trillion level in what amounts to a shout to the rest of the world that no, actually this market is going to stay worth $1 trillion. We've been fighting hard, and it's been a valiant display of strength from the bulls that we have broadly, anyway, held the zone of support between $800 billion and $1.2 trillion, even breaching above that relatively recently to nearly $1.25 trillion. Of course, we've had a little bit of a sell-off, but that's nothing unusual. Now, when we jump on over to CoinMarketCap, when we jump on over to Bitcoin, we can go to Bitcoin market cap, and we can look for the market cap of Bitcoin itself. And this chart, it'll load. Might not load for me. That's strange. Anyway, when this chart loads, this will show us the market capitalization of Bitcoin. And in a similar way that all of crypto has been fighting for the level of about $1 trillion, we also have Bitcoin fighting for the level right around $500 billion. So it doesn't look like CoinMarketCap's, it doesn't look like TradingView is going to cooperate with me here and load this chart. So I'll show you on CoinMarketCap instead. On CoinMarketCap, it also has a chart of the market capitalization. Looking at the last, looking at the last couple of years, you can see that $500 billion mark on Bitcoin sits right here, right around my cursor. You can see dropping all the way down here sits right around $300 billion. There's been a huge zone of support between 1/3 and 1/2 of $1 trillion on market capitalization that Bitcoin has been fighting to maintain. At the very moment, Bitcoin is sitting above $500 billion in market cap, $20 billion higher than that at $519 billion. We dropped all the way down to almost exactly 1/3 of $1 trillion, right around 320 billion, and we more or less completely and totally held it, which is something that we're very excited to say. At this point in time, Bitcoin has gotten above the bottom of its zone and through the middle of its zone up above $500 billion. Total market capitalization, likewise, has gotten above that zone around 800 to 1,000 billion dollars, I guess you could say, 800 billion to $1 trillion, and total market capitalization is sitting above 1 trillion right now. Both of these markets, therefore, have gotten above, both of these charts, I should say, they're not necessarily just markets, but both of these charts, the total market cap chart and the Bitcoin market cap chart, have shown us that Bitcoin and the total market capitalization have gotten above their critical resistance levels. Bitcoin's above $500 billion. Total is above 1 trillion. That is another signal to us that the bulls are strong enough to break major resistance. It was not easy for Bitcoin and total market capitalization charts to break above those levels respectively. And the way I can prove that is because the break above $1 trillion with any kind of exuberance happened back over here right around January 20th. If we go ahead and look at the Bitcoin chart, January 20th, if TradingView will cooperate, what's going on here? TradingView does not want to cooperate. I might have to reload the page. Give me 1 second here. Aha, I fixed it. Sometimes you just got to reload it. Every website deals with that every once in a while. Here we go. Back around January 20th, you can see there was a major wick, not a major wick, major candlestick right here when Bitcoin broke above 21.5, and we broke through here with a lot of exuberance. There was a lot of shorts getting squeezed out here as well when people thought, okay, this rally's dead. Now we're going to collapse over. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you look out here on the longer term, when we broke above 21.5 right here around January 20th, this is when we knew that something real was happening. This is when we knew that an actual, proper, sustained breakout was coming. Because if you look at the market right here, this is right before January 20th, it doesn't really look like anything new is happening. You don't really know that Bitcoin's about to go into this giant rally. You skip forward a little bit, and then wait a second, Bitcoin just broke above its level of resistance that it had been using for quite some time at 21.5. Notice we had not gotten above 21.5 with confidence since we fell below it in August of last year. We've been below for 5 months. But it wasn't just breaking above 21.5 that was so important for Bitcoin. It was also the fact that on the same day, we were testing $1 trillion market capitalization. That's the shadow behind why 21.5 was so important to crypto. We tried to break above it with confidence right before FTX collapsed, and we probably would have started this whole rally back in November. However, we had to go through 2 or 3 months of bearishness and just this giant dip right here down to 15.5, backtesting 800 billion, which had been tested on 6/18/2022. We had to backtest that because of FTX, but when we broke above 1 trillion with confidence, we stayed up there, and then we were able to march higher. Likewise, when Bitcoin broke above $500 billion, it broke above $500 billion on a very important day. You can see that breaking above $500 billion happened right here. March 16th, March 15th. Let's go. The Ides of March. On the Ides of March, Bitcoin broke above $500 billion. And we can see that occurred right here. You can see that occurred right here. This large wick that Bitcoin went through, this large candle body, I should say, excuse me, that Bitcoin went through right here, this massive run-up was exacerbated by the huge break that was breaking above $500 billion. So now, the thing I want to point out is that there are a few more of these major breaks that could be coming at some point in the near future. The first one, because I think you've seen how important they are, when a market breaks these big mass psychological levels of resistance. Total market capitalization, boom, moonshot. Bitcoin would go up another couple of $1,000s. When Bitcoin broke above $500 billion, boom, moonshot. Who gets the reference I'm saying? Somebody from like 2011's YouTube surely has got to know the reference I was making there. The point I'm making here is that it's not just Bitcoin and total that are about to break levels. It could also at any point be Ethereum. Ethereum is obviously the smallest fish in that pond of 3, but if it breaks above its level at $250 billion, which by the way, it attempted here on April 15th, if it breaks above that level, take note of this. If Ethereum breaks above its level of $250 billion, it's $250 billion. It's $250 billion. It's a lot of money. If it breaks above that level, which corresponds with Ethereum breaking above about $2,100, about $2,000 to $2,200, somewhere in that zone, that would likely require the total cryptocurrency market capitalization to be going to the upside to such a point that the total market cap would likely be breaking $1.33 trillion. Because on the same day that we were testing $250 billion on Ethereum, we were testing $1.25 trillion to $1.33 trillion on total. So if Ethereum moves back to that level, then we would very likely not only be breaking, when we break above $31,000 on total market capitalization charts, on Bitcoin, if we break $31,000 on Bitcoin, we would not only be breaking at the same time $250 billion on ETH, we'd also at the same time be breaking $1.25 to $1.33 trillion on total. Doing so would give us more than likely one of these exuberant rallies because we've just broke another ceiling. Bitcoin's this rocket ship and it's trying to blast off straight through a skyscraper, and every floor it breaks through, it can then get through again. If there's a gaping hole in the ceiling, it's so much easier to go up to the next floor if you're a you just boom. But if there's this concrete slab that you got to break through, that's hard. You got to find the strength to just boom, punch it and get up through that thing. That's what Bitcoin's trying to do. It's trying to break these ceilings so that it can get up there. There's been just the concrete ceilings built on top of Bitcoin. Bitcoin broke through one at 21.5. Bitcoin broke through another at 22.808. That was the number that we were always talking about a couple months ago. Bitcoin broke through another one at 25,236. Bitcoin broke through another one at $30,000, etc. The next one for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is about $2,100 on ETH, about $31,000 on Bitcoin, because those two levels being broken would mean that Ethereum is breaking through a major level of a major market capitalization, mass psychological level of resistance, that being $250 billion. It means that total is breaking through a mass psychological level of resistance, that's $1.25 trillion. And at the same time, if we look here at the market capitalization of Bitcoin over the last year, you can see that we'd be breaking through about nearly about $600 billion. So when we do see Bitcoin at some point, and I think this will happen in the next couple of months, get up to $31,000, then that's where we're going to see some pretty large resistance levels, those market capitalization levels. We're talking roughly 31,000 on Bitcoin, but that's kind of the least important of them. We're talking right about 21.5 on Ethereum, and we're talking about that those two levels hitting that, those two markets hitting that level on Bitcoin, on the total market capitalization charts. But there's another thing I want to talk about here, and that's not just the idea of the levels that we need to break. I also want to talk about another chart that you guys have been asking me about quite a lot, and that would be the Bitcoin futures chart. As you can see, I already have it drawn here. Many people have been asking me, Jebb, what about the gap down at $20,380 to $21,020, somewhere in that range? What about that gap, Jebb? What happens if Bitcoin goes down to that gap? Well, let's talk about that. First things first, let's just establish that gaps have not been filled in past. There have been instances in the past where CME futures gaps have not been filled. Mind blown, right? Everybody tells you every single time Bitcoin goes and makes a CME gap, then Bitcoin has to go and fill it. I'll just grayscale out my face there. I'll do the Graham Stephan thing. Every single time that Bitcoin has a gap, it fills it. The hate commenters. That's not true. Check this out. Excuse me, guys. I am still getting over a cold. It has been pretty difficult. Our newborn is also sick, so that's making things pretty hard, but we'll live. All right, as you can see here, there is a gap, no matter how tall you want to draw it, but there is a gap right here, going back to July of 2020, between 9,740 all the way up to 9,845. That is a gap of about $100. That gap was never filled. You can see, I can draw this into the future if you would like. It was never, ever, 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 ever filled. Never filled. It's not going to let me grab it because it's so small. It's just such a small gap, but it does count. It was never filled. This gap was never, ever filled. You look out into the future. Never filled. You can see that? Never came back and filled it. We've kind of a similar story here. Not much further away. There's another gap right here, depending on how you draw it. If you want to define gaps as it's not a gap if there's candle wicks, then maybe this isn't a gap. Maybe this is a gap of like $3. We're using candle bodies, which I think is the more substantial way to find gaps. There's also a gap between 11.1 and 11.3.5. That gap was never, ever, 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 ever filled. And I highly doubt we're ever going down to $11,000 again to fill that gap. So, is there a gap at $20,000 to $21,000, roughly in that range? Yes, there is. Do we have to fill it? No, we don't. Past performance does not guarantee future results. It does help to predict them, but it does not guarantee anything. We are not required to go down to $20,000. That being said, what's the likelihood? Well, I'm not going to get into the likelihood today because I actually talked about that in tomorrow's video, so make sure to stay tuned. 10 a.m. That video is already set to premiere, so you can go check it out over on the channel and see the thumbnail and everything. What I will say is that there is a chance that Bitcoin could drop all the way down to $20,000 and fill that gap, but there is also a chance that we could rally... we could rally all the way up here to $51,000 to $53,000, where Bitcoin has a gap as well. You can see there's a gap right up here between 51.2 and between 53,480. There's a huge gap up here. So even if Bitcoin did have this requirement on it that every single time there is a gap, every single gap gets filled, then here's the deal. Bitcoin would have to drop all the way down to $9,000, which would be a 2/3 drop. $17,000, $18,000 drop. You'd be able to buy at $10,000 again. And then Bitcoin would be required to rally 500% all the way back up to $51,000. So is Bitcoin required to go down to $20,000 and fill the gap? No, but if it does, it might be a good thing, because if Bitcoin does go down to $20,000 and fill the gap, there is a high likelihood that it'll be filled. There's also a very high likelihood that this one will be filled, and a rally from $20,000 all the way up to $51,000 is a 150% rally. You make a lot of money on that, even if you're not using leverage. Forgive me, guys, for my throat. So, people are saying Bitcoin's going to go down to $20,000 because of that gap. Is it going to happen? It's possible. I will get into the likelihood of that tomorrow. Is Bitcoin going to drop down to $20,000? I don't think so. If it does, that's a good thing. All right, let's go ahead and read some chat. Let's read chat. I love reading chat, guys. Thank you so very much for tuning in to my sick self. I'm very sorry for the sniffling and everything. As far as the massive Bitcoin movement that we're talking about coming soon, Bitcoin is very soon, in my opinion, to go through a pretty large movement, and we will talk about that more in tomorrow's video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But I do believe when Bitcoin bottoms out, and it's going to bottom out somewhere more than likely in this little triangle right here. This little bitty triangle right here, Bitcoin's going to drop somewhere into this little bitty triangle, and it's going to bounce. And then after it bounces, there's a major movement coming. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video to see what that looks like, but also keep in mind that the bottom is close. Be careful about going into a short trade right now. You're kind of betting against the trend. The trend is bearish, but the bearish trend is likely to reverse soon. Just be careful going into a short trade if that was your plan. And just keep in mind that there are quite a lot of bullish factors coming into Bitcoin right now. A lot of people are saying, "Oh my goodness, this US dollar thing, a debt ceiling. Let's just buy some Bitcoin because this is kind of ridiculous." Don't even get me started on the debt ceiling. It's a complete farce. It's not going to mean anything, but people are getting disenfranchised with the traditional systems, with the debt ceiling debacle, with the all the banking crises that we've had recently. People are looking for another place to store their money rather than just the dollar. Grand Roofing Incorporated said, "Good morning, Jebb. Good morning to all. Happy Friday. Hashtag FinSov." JoJo's in chat. Indeed. If you guys don't know what FinSov is, FinSov is the concept of having complete and total control over your finances so that they would serve you rather than you serving them. That's not just the only area that you can try and find sovereignty in your life. One of the areas that I'm trying to find sovereignty in my life is time sovereignty and not letting my time control me. You can also have sovereignty over your home, so your home doesn't control you. You can have sovereignty over your possessions, so you don't have so many possessions. Like, we're not minimalist, but we typically, if we don't need something, we get rid of it. Like, it felt so good. I tell you what, it felt so good yesterday. We brought 2 giant laundry hampers full of stuff to Goodwill. It felt great. Just get all that stuff out of our house. It was amazing. And it wasn't even stuff that we didn't necessarily, it wasn't even bad stuff. It was just stuff that we didn't need. It was duplicates of things we just didn't, like, we have these little 1.7 ounce glass mason jars that our son drinks out of. We had like 20 of them. We need like 5 of those. We got rid of a bunch of them. Like, it just feels good to have less stuff, because one thing we learned is that in your house, everything that needs to have something done with it is a to-do. You don't want to walk into your house and have 500 to-dos. You don't want to walk into your house and feel like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to fold this laundry, I have to put this away, I have to do that, 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 I have to read that book, I have to put batteries in that, I have to change that, I have to mow that, I have to cut that, I have to maintenance that, I have to winter that, I have to sod that, I have to water that, I have to change the oil in that. You walk in your house and you just, boom, slammed with to-dos, because we've got this Western American model, which I love America. Very, very much a fan of America, especially what it was founded on. Not everything. It's not perfect. But we've got this Western American model that we just accumulate more stuff, and we just go and we just grab stuff, and we get money, and let's just go to Target or Walmart or wherever and just buy all this stuff, and then we'll just have a house full of stuff, and then we'll be happy. That's not the way it works. So, just so you know, financial sovereignty, I think, is one of the most important areas to have sovereignty, as well as time sovereignty. And that's an area that I am just brass tacks deficient in. I want to be a lot more sovereign over my time. But having financial sovereignty and time sovereignty are 2 of the most important things. That being said, having sovereignty over your possessions, having sovereignty over your home, having sovereignty over your whatever it is that you don't want to control you anymore, it's very important. And so, just for example, like your house, do you walk into your house and you have a bunch of to-dos? That's not good for your psyche. You can't, it's hard to, you can, but it's hard to rest in that. It's like, whenever we have a Sabbath every single week. Tomorrow's our Sabbath. We try very hard just to rest, spend time with God and with each other. It's very hard to enjoy the Sabbath if there's a giant mess. We keep our home very clean, but if there's a giant mess, it's very hard to rest because it's just all these to-dos. So try and find not just sovereignty in your finances, but in everything. It'll bring you a much more realistic, a much better life. He said Target. Yeah, I am well aware of the recent controversy with Target, and I definitely, I'm not going to tell you my opinion, but I think you guys can definitely, I think you guys can guess what my opinion is on some of these things. Wait, wait a minute. Wait, what? What? Oh, Tim Keller died? Didn't know that. Oh, wow. Huh. Well, learn something new every day. That's sad. Let's see. Got paid for my side hustle yesterday, stacking dry powder. Let's go. Good deal. Good job. Remember to enjoy the journey. Way more important than the destination, guys. Yep. Wow. Good deal. Thanks, Jebb. You the man. Thank you very much, Jay. Thank you very much. Let's see. We want 20K. Come on, Biddy. I know 20K would be nice. I'm not against it for sure. Nothing made humans so toxic than the invention of money, than the internet, since the invention of money. Are you ever not sick? Probably not. That's something you can try and find is health sovereignty. That's what I'm trying to find. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Chat, just know if we go down to 25K, it's the buy opportunity of a lifetime. I do think it would be a very good buy, yes. For sure. Some of these comments are pretty funny. Oh my goodness. All right. Good deal. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it out. Guys, make sure to stay tuned. Saturday is your Sabbath, Jebb, not Sunday. The reason so the Sabbath doesn't, that's a good question. The Sabbath doesn't have to be on any specific day. If your work schedule aligns with it, you can have a Sabbath on Wednesday. The Sabbath is not about the day so much. It is more about, and I'm not talking theologically for Israel because that was a specific day. I'm talking about in New Testament Christian. The Sabbath, the idea of it is a day of rest and a day of community with each other and with God. So that can be on any day. We typically do it on Saturday because we like the idea of if we want to, we don't have to leave the house. On Sunday, of course, we leave the house to go to church. So if we want to on Saturday, we can just kick it, watch a movie. We don't have to leave the house. And sometimes that's what we want. Sometimes we want to go out and just, boom, adventure with our kids. But sometimes we just want to kind of rest. So that's why we do that. All right, guys, really do appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's video. I think you're really going to love it. That video is going to detail what the next movement for Bitcoin is. That video, just so you know, so you guys can get excited, is part of a new series that we're starting here on the Crypto Jebb YouTube channel called Up Next. We're going to show you exactly what's up next for Bitcoin. I'm going to show you where Bitcoin's been, where Bitcoin is, and where Bitcoin's going, and how you can profitably trade or invest in that coming movement. So make sure you stay tuned. I think you're going to really love that video. Go give it a lot of love and affection if you enjoyed it. Really appreciate all of you for tuning in. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.